Welcome guys to another tutorial. Today we are going to build this piano app, and this is built on Flutter, and I'm going to do series of tutorials for the Flutter beginner apps because I have done some tutorials in the past that are a little bit of advanced level in Flutter, but today we are going to start some new series, and I will put 3 or 4 apps for someone who is a beginner in Flutter. So if you haven't subscribed my channel, please do so, and that will kind of give me an encouragement to continue. So assuming that you have already installed Flutter, uh, you would just create a new project, and you can name this as piano, and make sure that your project name is in lowercase, abiding by the conventions. Otherwise, if your name is like capital case, then it wouldn't uh, pass. Yeah. And this is the starter code for any Flutter project that you start, so you can easily get rid of this, and I assume that you have some knowledge regarding Flutter. But yeah, so maybe we will try building something. And this is just an arrow function, something fancy to make it look one liner. And yeah, so if we type stateless widget, I will tell you a little bit about stateless and stateful widget if maybe at the end of the tutorial. And we will run this app, but first of all let's just wait for it to be built. Meanwhile it's building, I can tell you what is stateless and stateful widget. So let's say stateless widget is where the state of the app does not changes. Like if there is a picture on the if there is a picture and some text on the app, that is going to remain like that, right? But stateful widget is like, let's say if there is number one and you there is an action to it, you like it changes to number two, number three, number four, that means the state is changing. So then we use stateful widget, but for now we are using just stateless widget. And first and foremost, what we will do is we will go to our pubs spec.yml and import a package that helps us to play the audio file. I have already uh, found this package, and I can tell you where to find it. But once we put it here, and then I can tell you where to get this package from. So, and another thing, this YML is a non-markup language, so indentation is very important in this. And if you have used Flutter before, you will understand what I'm talking about. So whatever is coming under this means that this is the part of this. So this Flutter is a separate entity, but Flutter has the assets, so it has to come under the Flutter. And the assets are going to be another two, how do I say this? Two spaces indentation, and we will create a folder. This is referring to a direct name, like this is a boilerplate code, but we are going to eventually have a folder that contains our music files. So just to link up the folder, you would need to put a slash at the end of the folder name. So with that, what I will do is I will also put my asset folder here. If we can just go to our package and create a new directory and call it assets. And in here you can click show in Explorer, or I think in Mac it's reveal in Finder, and we click here. So we paste whether there are images or whether they are oh wow, yeah, I'd say whether they are like audio files, some sort of like assets. that we can place and link this way. So here we have copied the assets. So whatever the assets that you have has to be linked like this. And what is this audio player? So it's like a dependency or a library, that open source library that other developers have made. So this has its own methods and everything, but to get it, we just have to go here and like look for this audio players. And since we need it, since we want to like load the assets locally because our music is stored locally, so we will be using audio cache, this method, for the player to initialize the player. So with that said, so now you see also when I was talking about indentation, so let's say if the indentation is wrong, then the code will not work. So just to test it, you have to click on pubscat, and if there is some error, then you have to like little bit mess up, like give some spaces or something. So now the indentation in the first attempt it's good, but let me just mess it up for a little bit, and I'm giving more like uh like changing the indentation. Okay, so see, there is an error, right? And now if you are new, you would be like, oh, what is this? But the problem lies with spacing. So just be very careful of that. So this is the open source library that helps us to create a audio player. So now with that done, everything is done, and we'll just get dependency, click on that. And what we will do is we will return a scaffold. So first of all, we would have to run our app. And so there are some other things that I would like to explain to you. Is this build method helps us to rebuild the app whenever there is a change. Okay, so this build method runs our application. So this build method is helpful because there is a thing in Flutter which is called hot restart, that whenever we save our code, we can see the change right away. And the way Flutter works is like Flutter mostly paints your app onto the screen. Okay, so that is why like whenever there is a change, build method gets triggered and it shows us what just happened. So now what are we gonna do is like now we will start working on this. So let's just wait for this to be launched so we can see the changes right away. This is my old app, but we need a new app, so let's just wait. So yeah, I'll pause the video meanwhile. Okay, so this app has launched already, but we don't see shit. So like the reason is that we are just returning a container, but we have to return a material app widget. Material app widget is from Google. So this is going to help us to put some this gives us like a ground where we can attach our uh, widgets to it. So yeah, you see like as soon as I type like scaffold, so home is home. Obviously home is this whole screen here. And if you want, then you can put an app bar here, which we will not do, but I'm just showing you uh, that okay, what can be done with this. If you go through the documentation, then you will, and when I click Control F, you see this reload. So this is happening because of this build method. And you see this gets app bar, but we don't need app bar for now, and I will just remove this. So okay, our home is going to be scaffold. Okay, and I'll get rid of that. Okay, so this is what we have right now, and we are going to wrap our scaffold in a safe area, so everything because sometime our content gets pushed to the top. So just to avoid that, okay, so make sure that you wrap your scaffold in the safe area. And now what do we need? We need our assets and we need the color and everything, right? But there are things, instead of creating like let's say if I go to the app, where is that app? So there is like one widget, two widget, three widget, four widget, right? All these files. Instead of doing that, we can just create a function that takes in values, and it helps us to minimize the code. So I'll just show you uh, one like example that why I am not using okay, so the display somehow went away. Piano. Okay, so there is some problem in here, maybe. Let's just get rid of safe area for now and we'll deal with that later. mm, Thinking file, maybe like just restart the app. So I'll create one widget that shows us that how can we like put everything here. But so what do we need? We need like here we'll go and get the body, material app and scaffold body, and here we can say that we need a column because all the widgets are going to be, how do I say this, all the widgets are going to be vertically aligned, and column takes in uh, an array of the widgets. So we need maybe a flat button that have this method, and the color is colors.red, and the child could be an empty text. So if I run this app now, and I should see something red on my screen. Okay, let's just wait for it to, yeah, so you see that red thing is being pushed out of our whole screen. So how do we bring it back? Like how do we solve that? So there we would need a safe area that ensures that our content is in the right place. And hopefully this will bring the, okay, see, now it's in the middle. So if we like press it, okay, so there is something wrong with my emulator. I think mostly I run my apps on the how do I say this, on the, let's just guide, wait, let me reset it. I usually use it on my phone, so let's just try that later, but I will reset it first. So I have reset and wiped data on my emulator, and let's hope that this time it does not show any kind of weird errors. So meanwhile it's building, I'll just tell you a little bit more about this app. That right now we see that if we want like different buttons that play different sound, then we would have to create like so many of the same widgets, right? We would have to create each like separate button for each uh, like note of the sound, right? So Yeah, so what do we need? We would create some functions here, like methods, if I may. So then we wouldn't need to we will be able to reduce our repetitive code. Okay. So let's say okay, meanwhile it's building, I'll just keep on building something. So let's say if I want to use this, then like another one should be orange, another one should be blue, another one should be green, another one should be yellow, and lastly should be brown, and we can take one more as black, no, maybe tail, oh, orange spelling was wrong. So let's just wait for the display to come up, and obviously this will only show us one widget because that's what we had created earlier. And our emulator is trying to load up the files. Okay guys, finally I have like display on my this weird emulator. But you see my point that like there are so many of these that we have to create, but how do we just create one? Wouldn't it be nice that we have only one method that takes in the parameters or arguments for each like color and each note that we want to play, right? So what I will do is I will just delete this whole thing, keep the column and delete this. So this was just for demonstration, and then I will just go here, and what I'll do is, oh wow, snap. Okay, so what I'll do here is uh, create a method, play sound, and we'll give it sound number. This is the argument, and to create the player we will just create a instance of audio cache. And if you want to know where is this coming from, so and also like you will, this will be imported here, but what you need is audio cache in order to access this. Oh wow, let me just take care of this audio cache. Yeah, this is the package that we have to use because we are loading the file locally, so it's not audio player. Okay, and then we can simply player play. Now there is one thing, usually when we want to access the assets or load some images or load something from the assets folder, we go like this and we just type file name something like this, right? But here if we go to the documentation of the audio player package, it already assumes that our file must be in assets, so we don't need the prefix of it. So we'll just write our file name here, note1 dot wave, and this is our player. And just for the demonstration, but here also we need some widgets, so I'll create a method called expanded widget. We are going to create a method and we'll say build key, and this is going to take two arguments. One is color, and one is int sound number. So okay, so we have to make it required. Okay, just hold on. Yeah, we have to make it required because uh, every time we're gonna use this method, this has to, like, have a value. And what we'll do is we'll return an expanded widget, and in here we will return a child column, not a column actually, flat button. Flat button is something that it's just a button which is invisible, and you click on it and stuff happens, right? On press is a callback method, and here it requires me to have a child, which I'll just put an empty text here. So what is this doing? Once this is in action, then you will understand what is happening here. And okay, so what are we gonna do? We will, the color is going to be is equal to color, because flat button widget comes with its own color property, right? And this is like a placeholder, but once I show you in the practice here down here, then you will understand this, but just bear with me. Okay, color is color, and play sound method that we had created up is this. So we will just use this method that is returning an expanded widget. And how many times do we want to return it? Build key. So color value is going to be colors dot red. This is our the first, and the sound number is going to be 1, because what we have done here is, with the help of string interpolation, so this is like a method, right? Play sound, you need to have a little bit of knowledge about like what is the method and how do we pass argument. So whatever, like our file name, if I go to the asset folder, is note1, right? And what do we need? We are just putting note here, and we are changing the number dynamically, right? So this sound number has to be, if it's a string, then we have to put a $sign, and then this sound number, whatever the sound number is going to be, it will play that sound, right? So okay, that's good here, because it's a widget, so we need a comma sign. It's not a method. I mean, it's a method that returns a widget. So okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and I just mistakenly pressed insert button. Okay, now we can just change the colors, because we need to identify our stuff. Okay, yellow. So instead of creating uh, that whole kind of like big code that was like really long, we can just do this. And purple, what is the error here? So what is the problem here? Colors, purple, sound number. No, we have to get rid of that. And color, maybe I imported this the wrong way. And one more sound that we needed is this. So if all goes well, then we should be able to, like, I'll just hit hot reload, and if all goes well, then we will be able to see this. And one more thing, guys, the reason this is not, so yeah, this is not taking the whole space. So first of all, this expanded property, if it's a column, then it expands the widget with the maximum space available, so it is fitting all that, right? Because, but if it's a row, then it would expand the widget horizontally. So how do we expand this horizontally, like make it fit horizontally? Because we need a column, we need it stacked on top of each other, we don't want it right next to each other, so we are forced to use column. But how do we spread it equally horizontally? So what we would do here, we will use one property of the column, cross axis alignment, because this is the cross axis, because column main axis is y and cross is x, and we will just stretch our columns, whatever the widgets are there, so it is being stretched. And now what else have we got? This is giving the equal space, but this is taking more space. So how do we get rid of this? Is main axis not ready? There has to be, but first of all we'll just test if it's the sound is playing or not. See, every button, it's making a different sound, right? Because we are passing the placeholder values in here, and need to deal with this. But how do we deal with this, that it's doing some weird stuff here? And we'll give it a background to our scaffold to, so the whole app is going to have a background. Colors dot black, and obviously you cannot see the color behind it. So okay, so I have given it a similar color, so maybe we need to change it to brown. Okay, yeah, so we have a working piano kind of an app. So how many minutes it has been? It has been 27 minutes. So let's just review this real quick. So first of all, we create an app that returns like a stateless widget, and then we have a player here, player, and then we return a widget that also uses the method that we had created here. So we do a string interpolation here by replacing the number here. So this is 1 2 3 4, that is taking note of these values, and that's how we just come down here. And because we needed 7 widgets, so we return it 7 times. Obviously if we had the 8th value here, then we would do the same one more time. So there is nothing much, just you have to get yourself familiar with something, like how do these methods are working. Otherwise I have shown you the way of how do you create like 7 widgets here. That is like a long approach. So I'll see you in the next tutorial, and if there are some questions, the code is in the description, so you can go to GitHub and download, or you can just send a comment. And please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.